This meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar to allow for public participation and comments. The Contra Costa Transportation Authority does not condone hate speech in any form. We continually strive to make life better for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Public speakers will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The chair will call upon public speakers at the appropriate time. Each public speaker is requested to state their name and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Public speakers who wish to speak in person should submit a public speaker card to the clerk. Public speakers participating by Zoom who are wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice on the meeting agenda will be provided to the members. If authors of any written correspondence would like to speak during the meeting, they should raise their hand or submit a public speaker card. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Emily, could you please conduct roll call?
Member Carr,
Here.
Member Esquivel,
Here.
Member Miller,
Present.
Member Saunders,
Here.
Member Shakaran,
Here.
Member Stark,
Here.
Member Vedantam,
Here.
Vice Chair Eselsago,
Present.
Chair Lovejoy.
Present.
Okay, we do not have a quorum at the moment with members Ash, Bankert, Erickson, Everidge, James, Patel, and Wayne absent.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone wishing to speak during public comment on an item that's not part of the agenda? If so, please submit a speaker card or raise your virtual hand and the staff or I will call on you. Emily, have we received any written public comment or remote public comment?
We have no public comments written or remote.
The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar, which includes summary of actions from December 10th, 2025 meeting and the acknowledgement of the member attendance log. Are there any changes or comments from the committee?
Chair, since we don't have a quorum right now, would you like to move this to the end of the meeting with the hopes that Member Erickson arrives?
Yes, let's go ahead
Okay.
and do that. All right. So then we'll go to the regular agenda item, of which we have two tonight. So the first item is an action item that will be introduced by Matt Kelly and presented by David Hannum, I think I said that right, and Hiba El-Guinea.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Kelly, Director of Planning for CCTA. Great to be here tonight. As the Chair mentioned, we do have two checklists. The first one is for the City of Pinole. Pinole is in terms of population, is the third smallest city within the county, but they have a lot going on. And we have David and Heba here to go over their checklist and describe kind of the major events and milestones for the city that are in the checklist. And you know, I'm also hoping we get the quorum by the end of this item. But if we don't have a quorum, we will still we still want to get a recommendation from the members that are here, and we will take that recommendation to the authority. We will note that there was not a quorum, but that the members in attendance either recommend or don't recommend approval of the checklist and transmittal of the LSM funds, because you know we don't want to have to ask the cities to come back. So we've been able to use that recommendation in the past where we didn't reach a quorum, but we'll keep our fingers crossed anyways. So I'll turn it over to David and Heba with the City of Pinole.
Okay, it's on. Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate the opportunity to come and give you some updates of our projects and also the GMP checklist. Again, my name is David Hannum. I'm the planning manager with the city of Pinole. I'm here with Heba El-Gwini, the director of public works and our city engineer. And so we're going to kind of tag team this. I'll probably do the first part of it, and then Heba will come in and do the projects and that. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. There we go. So basically, this is our staff that we have that works on our checklist and do all that. I mean, we do use the finance department, but myself and the community development director, Lily Whaling, who's not here, oversees the stuff that I do, and of course, Heba and her department. We also use, of course, finance to help get our funds and what we're using the money for. So we go straight into the checklist. So do we have the action plans? Yes, we have action plans, capital improvement programs. We have been using development mitigation programs through our measure, not through our growth management element, which was required by Measure J. In this particular planning period, we haven't had any traffic impact studies. We have been cooperating with the multi-jurisdictional planning. We work with Matt and CCTA and WICTAC on all of our transportation projects, and so we continue to work with them to make sure that we get our projects funded. We do have a 5-year CIP, and Heba will probably talk about that a little later. It is adopted. We adopted it back in, I think, April or May of last year, or right around the budget last year. Our Transportation Systems Management Program, the city has been operating that since Measure J has been put into place. The city has adopted a voter approval urban limit line. Because of how our city is pretty much built out, our city limits is our city limits. There is really no excess lands to do. So we consider our city limits our urban limit line, even though we do have a sphere of influence. It's all developed communities, unincorporated area of the county that surround us, El Sobrante and Terra Hills subdivisions. We did adopt the Measure J growth management element with our general plan back in 2010. The city is looking to update its general plan in the next few years. It's getting a little older, so we'll be again getting that Measure J growth management element as part of that general plan effort. When we do have projects and we do use Measure J funds, we do post signs. However, we haven't had a project, at least at this point, that has allowed us to get a sign. The $250,000 limit, I think, our project is, in terms of roads improvements, we haven't done that yet. A maintenance of effort, we do have maintenance of effort and in our checklist, and we have, and Heba could probably talk to that a little bit, and we do submit our LSM reporting and audit forms. We did all of that. You probably have that, or Matt has that checklist as part of the checklist. There we go. So we've got, the city adopted, we've got some major housing projects that we adopted back in 2021, 2022. They're now starting to be under construction. Our housing element, we completed our 6th cycle housing element and got state certified back in 2023. We are in the process of implementing that element, which has been really fun over the last couple of years. Is all the new housing policies that we've had to add to our housing element to make sure that we got certified, and we did back in July by the state. One of the major projects was our San Pablo, we call it our Saha project. It's a 33-unit apartment complex. We call it Valor Village. It is a 100% veterans, low-income, affordable project. It used density bonus. It's within our specific plan area. It's, as you can see on the slide, it's a 30 to 60% AMI, and it's all veteran housing for families. The project processed an environmental review, notice of exemption, as well as a comprehensive design review, and the project has been constructed and is occupied. All 33 units are occupied at this point. So it was a great project for us. I've kind of included a little bit of the of what it looks like in terms of the illustratives and the 33 units. So that's our Saha project. The next project was our Vista Woods project. This was an interesting project due to the fact that we had to tie in 3 parcels to kind of make it all happen. The total site area was 2.1 acres. We were able to, with density bonuses and using state law, we were able to get 179 units on that 2.1 acres. It's probably one of our most densest projects. The affordability mix is 100%. It's affordable for seniors, 62 and plus. It was processed with a environmental notice of exemption as well as a comprehensive design review with the city. And now that project's been completed and occupied. And right now it is 80% occupied right now. So it's been a really successful project for us. And there's kind of ideas, some construction of the pictures and some of the layouts and of the project. And for tonight, this is our last project in this planning period, which is Appian Village. Appian Village is, for a lot of you that know Pinole, where the old Doctors Hospital site was. It was a site of 7.3 acres. And actually these are for sale product. This is 154 units for sale, stacked flats and townhomes. It has an affordability mix of 20% affordable, which we were able to work with the project proponent to get to 29 units, 21 units for moderate income and 8 units for low income. And so these are for purchase. So these aren't rentals. These people are buying these. We processed this similarly with the other two projects with a comprehensive design review and a notice of exemption. The project is currently under construction, and we are looking to have the first occupants or the first homeowners in 2026. So, and I'll show, you can kind of see the format of the first 4 buildings that are being built. There are 26 buildings in all to accommodate those 154 units, and I kind of just gave some of the features of what it's going to look like when we get done. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the project over to Heba to do over the major capital improvement projects. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us present to you this evening. I will cover a few of the key capital improvement projects. And you may notice that the project numbers changed slightly from what was presented to you last year, but they are the same projects. And these are the annual road rehabilitation projects, the road maintenance repairs, as well as replacement of the San Pablo Avenue Bridge over the PNSF railroad tracks. We have been promising Pinole Valley Road for a few years, and unfortunately there hasn't been enough accumulation of funding to perform the work. However, this fiscal year is different. We will be rehabbing 1 mile of Pinole Valley Road from the bridge overcrossing the creek at the southerly end all the way to the westerly intersection with Seamus Avenue. And these bubbles that you see on the exhibit, the orange ones show the locations of flat-topped speed humps at key crosswalk locations, although the one at Savage, we are still building 3 new curb ramps at that location, but not the speed humps because we got an HSIP grant and we will be implementing an RFP there. So with the difference of funding, we'll simply upgrade additional curb ramps to the north. The black bubbles shows the locations of just either addition of curb ramps or replacement of curb ramps. We're trying to establish a continuous path that is accessible for pedestrians along the corridor that will be rehabbed. Actually, Pinole Valley Road is not the only road segment that will be treated this year. We're also going to rehab the whole length of Shade Drive, but this is more, the type of work is different. What we will be doing for Pinole Valley Road is a type 3, topped with a type 2 slurry, while Shade Drive, it will be a grind and overlay because the roadway condition is much worse. Also, Marlesta Road will be slurried between the roundabouts at the easterly end to Appian Way. In addition to, again, accessibility upgrades and addition of curb ramps. So in total, we have 1.65 miles of pavement rehabilitation projects and 18 curb ramps. Actually 26. The funding that we are using, 18 on Pinole Valley Road. The funding that we're using is a combination of $2 million of accumulated gas tax, also $750,000 of accumulated Measure J funds, and $335,000 of other funded projects. I know that the 5-year CIP is included as part of the agenda packet. If you notice, this fiscal year, we established a number of projects, one for upgrades in street lighting, one for upgrades in traffic signals, one for upgrades to signing and pavement markings, various elements to improve the roadway conditions of the network within Pinole. And the $335,000 are coming from 2 projects, the traffic calming projects and the improvement to signing and pavement markings. With regards to the annual roadway maintenance, I know we're reporting on fiscal year 22-23 and 23-24, but this plan was more accessible to me, which is more recent that we developed this year. In addition to the regular maintenance citywide, that's responding to all the requests we receive from the community as well as internal requests, we divided up the city into 5 zones to be proactive in maintaining these zones, and it has the same breakdown of the 5-year CIP. So we're currently working on Zone 1. The numbering of these zones, it's really dependent on the conditions of the roadways in these areas. So the elements that we are covering under these additional zones improvements overall is minor pavement repairs. For example, filling of potholes. We tour these areas, and whether we receive complaints or not, we identify the locations that need improvements, and we perform the repairs based on that. Also, the replacement of any missing signs. So far, we replaced or damaged signs. We replaced 90 signs within Zone 1 of street name signs and stop signs. And in February, we will be replacing more than 100 additional signs, warning and regulatory signs within Zone 1. And what is noted under the third bullet point is minor repairs to the street lights and replacement of burned bulbs. This does not mean we're replacing the lights themselves or adding lights. There are separate projects for that. But these are the repairs that can be implemented using our own team. The city of Pinole has about 500 street lights that are city lights, and over 900 that belongs to the PG&E. So there is some inconsistencies in spacing, level of illumination. Some areas lack lighting. So we're keeping notes of these observations so that we can tackle them under the separate projects for street lighting upgrades. And the fourth bullet items that we're covering in the maintenance and repairs is repairs to and enhancements of pavement marking. The segment of Pinole Valley Road that I showed under the pavement rehabilitation project, the pavement marking along that segment will be carried out by the contractor using thermoplastic with the addition of buffered bike lanes or regular bike lanes depending on the cross sections. So the pavement marking for that segment will be as part of the pavement rehabilitation contract that will be implemented before the end of the fiscal year. Actually, we're going out for bids next month. What's mentioned under the minor maintenance and repairs is, again, what can be implemented using our own equipment and our own crew, like improvements to pedestrian crossings, minor lane line enhancements, and so forth. The third and last project that received Measure J funds is the San Pablo Avenue Bridge. And work on this project has been underway for a number of years. As you know, it's an 80-year-old project that's identified as deficient by Caltrans and eligible for replacement. We are at near completion of the environmental review, and what is shown at the top design concept, that's the temporary bridge structure, because we cannot close San Pablo Avenue during the construction. So the temporary structure will have one lane per direction, and it has a different alignment with sharper curvature while we work on the permanent bridge, which will have 2 lanes, 2 auto travel lanes in each direction, 8 feet on each side for protected bike lanes, and a 10-foot sidewalk on one side of the bridge that connects to the multi-use path at the end of the bridge. The cross section that's shown here, actually, it's almost 2 side-by-side structures because of the curvature of the bridge to maintain its strength. It's split in the middle. As I mentioned, we're near completion of the environmental review phase. Caltrans has already approved all the technical side studies, noise, water quality, all the technical studies last month, and we are expecting to complete the NEPA analysis next month. This bridge project is receiving funding from various sources. In addition to Measure J, it's receiving federal HBP funds, it's receiving STMP funds for the various phases. We are also expecting to complete CEQA by May of this year. And the design and right-of-way phase will commence shortly after. Actually, the design agreement is going to council on April 21st. So by June, we will be able to proceed with the design. The design phase is already funded. Actually, the construction phase is funded as well, but we're expecting to have a shortfall. It has a dedication of about 27 million of HBP funds, but we're expecting that the cost will exceed that number. Construction, the design and right-of-way is expected to take about a year and a half, with the construction commencing in early 2028. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, we'll start over here with Member Vedantha.
I just have one quick question. So this is on the BNSF bridge. So you said not all the funding is coming. You don't have all the funding for the project, right? So you still have to get some more funding for the project?
Actually, we expended the vast majority of the Measure J funds. What we are mainly utilizing currently for the design phase, for the environmental phase, is STMP and HBP funds. The design is fully funded. We're expecting that the construction phase, but between now and 2028, we will be pursuing additional funding once we have more detailed engineers' estimates of the actual costs. The funding that we currently have from HBP is about 27 million. We're expecting that the bridge will cost more than that.
So the construction will start in January 28. So up until then, you'll have the design for which you have the funding required.
Yes, we will be pursuing funding for construction beforehand.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So continuing on the bridge theme, so I would imagine that that is a very large project for a modest small city. So I'm just interested in kind of what challenges you face other than money, which I think is everybody has money problems, but how does CCTA help you? And just kind of give us some perspective on, how that project has gone through, because it's obviously a critical corridor that you got by being there as opposed to maybe wanting it. So I'm just interested in how that worked.
Yes, and the city very much appreciates all the support that we receive from CCTA. With regards to the challenges, they're not really related to CCTA. They're related to our level of staffing. Our engineering team is very small, and we currently have 2 vacancies, the CIP manager and the associate engineer positions, and they have been vacant for several months. So I'm a working director who doesn't have much time to sleep. But it's our most important project, and that's why we had to progress with the help of the consultants on completing the environmental analysis. We don't want to take the chance of losing the funding, the grant funding.
Yeah. Okay. And then one other question. So Pleasant Valley Road is like a pretty important, corridor to you. So you go out into county land, and I'm just wondering, I don't know how busy that corridor is, and if there are safety problems along it from people moving, from 80, further into Contra Costa County, or how does that corridor all kind of create challenges for you, and what are you doing about them? Whether it's
I
pedestrians,
believe,
bikes, or traffic.
I believe you're referring to Pinole Valley Road.
I'm sorry, I said, yeah, Pinole Valley. Road, yeah.
Yes. Actually, Pinole Valley Road, San Pablo Avenue, Appian Way are three of our safety priority corridors. We're in the process this week to apply for an OTS grant for safety improvements in trying to have a better software to analyze collision statistics, and also a safety education campaign to change drivers' behaviors. Going back to Pinole Valley Road, this is one of the reasons that we're proposing the 3 speed humps that I mentioned in the segment that we will be working on, in addition to the RRFP. San Pablo Avenue is also quite challenging, including the sections that runs through the downtown area, which has limited cross-section. David mentioned Vista Woods. It's a senior housing development. Like seniors, it's very challenging for them to cross San Pablo Avenue, multi-lane roadway. It's a designated truck route to get to the bus stop on the other side of the roadway. So this week, we're applying for TDA 3 funds to establish a new crosswalk at 5th Avenue in front of the senior housing, equipped with a hawk signal to allow them the safe crossing of the roadway. So we're trying as much as we can to tackle the priority safety corridors within the city, including Pinole Valley Road. Pinole Valley Road has a number of schools, parks, the soccer fields, so a number of traffic generators that are used by different age pedestrians and cyclists. Okay. And it's designated bike route. I'm sorry if I'm explaining too much. I'm passionate about this. For example, the continuous bike route along Pinole Valley Road and Tennant Avenue, like through the whole length of the city, the city's active transportation plan will be considered by the Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Committee and then City Council in March, with the recommendation to establish bicycle facilities along the whole length of the corridor.
Hi, Ed Miller with Clayton. And I'll start off with a joke to say if you can just get some high-density housing added to that bridge, you can bypass the CEQA requirements and save yourself a year there. Just a joke, sorry. So I'm reminded as we hear your presentation this morning or this evening that we don't get to pick our budgets or our infrastructure problems. And the city does seem to have some very large rehabilitation projects when it comes to road surfaces. And so I have some sort of very specifically directed questions. One of the things is those PCIs were some of the lowest that I've seen in the county. And that's not an insult to you. I don't know what all people inherited and stuff. And so I'm pleased to see that you've prioritized things in the zones and whatnot. But my question is then, you know, you were talking about RO 2301 and RO 2401, and you talked really more about 2401, which is smaller. 2301, which was your fiscal year 23 project, had $20 million expended in, or it had $20 million allocated to it, at least in the document that I had, or document that I was looking at it, and that number stood out for me. So I was thinking, was that a huge catch-up? Really, I'll bottom line it. I'm kind of curious. I know that you've saved up money over a period of time. How much would you say then maybe over like the last 2 to 4 years after having saved up of the Measure J money on a kind of percentage basis have you expended on that to get some of the, the PCI, the road conditions?
If I may explain, because I'm in the process of preparing the next update of the 5-year CIP as part of the budget process, and these numbers are changing. When we assumed last year $20 million over the 5-year period, that was based on the assumption of having debt financing. That would be funded by Measure I or by the vehicle impact fees that was established as part of the changes and rates of the trash collection and the impacts of garbage trucks on the roadways. However, we're unable to utilize the vehicle impact fees as of now, and it hasn't actually accumulated yet. We will find out by the end of the fiscal year, but we may not be able to implement as originally planned. There is definitely a need. The study that was prepared a few years ago came up with the findings that the city is going to be in need of 60 million rather than 20 million to upgrade all of the roadways throughout the city.
Due to a combination of as they deteriorate, it gets more expensive to repair, but also then increasing costs of asphalt and so forth, yeah.
Yes, so we are definitely catching up. However, despite that the PCI there is very low, we're not proceeding with the recommendations that are in the report. We've done our own checking of the roadway conditions, and the recommendations of the rehabilitation type is based on that.
Okay.
Like the type 3 and type 2 slurry is based on the widths and depths of the cracks, whether it could be treated or not. With Shea, we have to grind an overlay. We were working recently on sewer projects, the Pinion and Orleans sewer projects, and even the pavement thickness in Pinole varies. Like in some sections, it's 3 inches, others it's 5, others is 1. So the calculation here is based on a 3 inches grinding and overlay as an assumption. But this will be, we'll see how far the funding amount can take us. In the future, if we're not able to, if we don't succeed in getting a bond or some financing, that our annual budget is expected to be about 1.75 million for pavement rehabilitation. So the scope will significantly decrease.
You'll just be able to do your high traffic arteries, basically your big 3.
Yes, but we're also utilizing every chance we get to improve the roadways. David mentioned and described the Appian Village development. We resurfaced Appian Way and Canyon
using some
as part of the public improvements of that development projects. In addition to the upgrades to the signals and addition of street lighting. So we utilize every chance we get.
Yeah, and you should look at SB1 next year or whatever to get something. I mean, I think there's enough of the scale of things is such that maybe you might need to get something allocated at a large number higher from the state. So I've got 2 questions, and by the way, these are fast. So the next one is just about the burnt bulbs, and I know that you're not replacing the streetlights, and I also understand the division between PG&E and you guys. When you are replacing them, I'm assuming they're like probably sodium vapor, and is there an opportunity to replace not like for like in the sense of putting in some kind of LED replacement into the same voltage as as the sodium vapor?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. Because actually, if you look at the charges by PG&E, the energy charges for
they're going up. That's a way to save some
been
money.
Increasing. So we've been replacing the bulbs. Not just on the roadways, but in parks, in parking lots with LED lighting to reduce our energy usage.
Cool. And then the last question is just really just kind of shaking my head. And I've never heard of a 90 unit per acre density. but that's just because I don't live in a big city, I'm in Clayton. And so, what, did I read that correctly? It's like 2 acres and like approximately 179 or 180 units? That comes out to like 90 units per acre, right?
Yes.
They're probably like single, or they're like maybe a room with a bathroom, a bedroom, bathroom, and a,
Yeah,
and a living room?
Yeah, they're studios and 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Still seems, it's because it's only 4 stories, right?
Yeah, it's 4 stories.
Wow, that's, wow,
The
okay.
units are small.
They must
but-
be, okay.
No. Yeah, so the majority of them are, I think the majority of them are 1 bedrooms.
Okay.
But yeah, we were able to get that density, and
Okay.
they maximized all of the waivers and concessions, and so it allowed it to go, basically almost property line to property line, just to be able to get those units in.
Man.
And the design of the building, I don't know how, but they were able to, with the design, be able to get that.
They were clever.
that-
All
yeah,
right.
that unit.
I appreciate you enduring all my long questions. I appreciate it.
problem.
Thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I live right next to Pinot, so it's a good read for me. Just a couple questions. So it appears WICTAC was part of they were a stakeholder in the housing element update, but they didn't provide any questions or comments. I was just curious, is that like standard practice, or should that be interpreted?
No, I mean, sometimes they do. I mean, it was pure housing. I mean, in terms of, but they asked if we were still implementing our Measure J. I mean, there were some simpler comments that they had, and how are we funding, our programs and all that? Because most of our housing programs were all related to densities. They were all related to, outreach and that. So WICTAC probably didn't have that many comments on the project, regarding the housing element. We notice them, we always notice them, CCTA, as part of our process, and sometimes we don't get comments, either because of they're not germane to the housing element, but they might have suggestions, or I would say comments, but they might have suggestions that we might be able to use, or something like that, based on what they read with other cities, so.
Okay.
But that's.
Thank you. And then also, I would appreciate more detail on the analysis used to conclude that, the 2023 to 31 housing element amendment did not affect the city's ability to meet its multimodal transportation service. Like, how did you all come up with that? So in the
More
report,
reflection.
it said that there was no impact to the multimodal after going through your update. So I'm just curious.
Well, the reason why was because we have an existing city and we're built out. We're pretty much built out. So there's not a lot, the lots that we do have available for development are very small. So there's not going to be a lot of change in terms of, yes, there could be some added population, but it wasn't to the extent that it would require additional lanes to traffic, or more bike lanes, because those were already pronounced as part of our general plan in the circulation element. So the residential projects really aren't necessarily affecting the circulation element, and so the projects, because because we're built out, and because most of the facilities are already in. So there's really no way to, unless you just totally redesign the streets of the city of Pinole, there's really not a lot of ability to make those changes. We are working with WestCat to make sure that our bus routes that we're getting more bus service with the new residents, because we're using the transit stops as part of our waivers and concessions, and so we're working with them a lot to increase the transit. We are also working. We've kind of talked to Matt, kind of like the last mile program that they're doing. So we're working with some of that using different systems. So, but it's not improving. It's not making streets wider. It's not making, it's not extending, bike lanes miles and miles. It's just working with what we have and being able to expand, the only thing that really can expand, which is the bus. And then that's on a whole different funding level, and we don't really have control over that. And again, our parcels are so small. An acre or half an acre on one parcel, Most of them are, not more, they're probably between that half acre, and there's not very many of them left unless we totally bulldoze, blocks and then redevelop, which in that case would then generate more. Yeah, it would create more development funds, but it would also give us the ability to add more multimodal type of things within the projects that we're building. So until that kind of happens with the major projects, then we'll be able to do more of that. And we do have a general plan that's pretty out of date right now that we'll be in the process of updating here in the next few years. So there'll be a more attention to transit, multimodal, those types of bike lanes, pedestrian accesses, so that we can accommodate our residents.
Okay. One last question. I was just curious to I guess, get your thoughts on how, the city is reconciling its LOS-based standards with our SB 743.
That's not a nice question. No, again, I mean, because the environmental documents that we do are mostly VMT now. The LOS is no longer a standard in our environmental documents, unless we start updating our general plan, which we still can use LOS as part of that. So by using our existing LOS in our general plan, the VMT, because we're improving bike lanes, we're improving our sidewalk area, we're improving the safety and pedestrian accesses to our major corridors, VMT is kind of being dealt with through that. And we are going to be developing a more robust program in our next general plan update. When we did our general plan update in 2010, VMT was just coming into the fray. No one really knew what it was going to happen. But now that there's been more court cases, there's been more other things. We will have the ability to update more of our VMT and go kind of away from our LOS. We still will have LOS just so that we know what our intersections are doing, but from an environmental standpoint, the VMT is allowing us to make all these improvements and allowing us to take our projects to notice of exemptions and that. So,
thank you.
And if I may add to that, although I haven't gotten the opportunity with the city of Pinole, I'm relatively new to Pinole. I've been with Pinole for only 11 months. But I worked for other agencies in the past, including San Jose, Sunnyvale. So we updated the guidelines. We established a VMT tool along with the TDM measures that could potentially reduce VMT. It could be found on the website, and anyone, I would get alerts when people utilize it, but anyone would have access to it to try out the appropriate locations for developments and potentially what kind of impacts they would have. But that's from an environmental perspective. The guidelines still, for example, maintained the need for use of level of service analysis. The software has changed, but the need for performing level of service analysis was not eliminated. And that for specifically identifying the location-specific improvements that would be needed from a multimodal perspective in setting the conditions of approval. So although they may not be environmental mitigations, they could be conditions of approval on the projects to improve the multimodal servicing level of the roadways.
Are you finished?
Thank you.
Okay. I also live in the area, so I am actually going to pass to Member Carr and see if anybody else is going to answer or ask my questions.
Michael Carr, Town of Danville. A lot of the questions I had some interest in have sort of been touched on. I may dig into them a bit more for context or amplification. I guess my first comment would never apologize for being passionate. That's great. So I appreciate it. and it shows. Um, The pavement condition index caught my eye, and I was just curious, what does a 12 PCI on Merlesta Road, what does that physically look like if it's a 12? Is that like potholes 6 inches deep? Like, what does a 12 translate to in real world?
PCI is not the only indicator for the roadway conditions because we drove and walked these roadways and identified the problem areas, and we started treating some of the problem areas ourselves before pursuing it as part of the pavement rehabilitation project. It doesn't necessarily mean that there are potholes. It could be that the pavement itself is falling apart. It's becoming gravel. That's why we sweep more often in certain areas. So it depends on the level of degradation of the pavement conditions.
Okay, thank you. The whole funding of the bridge, the management of the bridge, I have a lot of connection with Member Saunders' concerns around a smaller jurisdiction taking on something so large. It's used to do site projects for a major oil company. In the small sites, we always had more concerns when they had to do something very large because they just don't have the staff. And so, if not CCTA, what resources are out there? Caltrans, is others that can stand alongside you and help deliver what's got to be a challenging project for any town or city, much less one that's the third smallest in Contra Costa.
Yes, it has been challenging. We progressed significantly on the environmental review phase, though. It was almost dormant for a while. But this past year, we progressed to the extent of having all of the technical studies reviewed and approved by Caltrans. That took a few iterations. So we are at a good spot now. It's unfortunate that it's taken that long to get to this point, but we have to keep the momentum. It's the most important project for the city, and we will definitely be seeking CCTA's help in the future.
Or whomever.
So I wasn't trying to eliminate that.
Or
I'm just
whomever,
keeping it.
whomever is a warm body that can help, right? So the whole funding piece, HBP, I guess is Highway Bridge Program?
Yes.
Yeah, and then I see potential debt financing, like what triggers it? Is that voter approval? What sort of, that looks like an important piece of the overall 5-year plan. How does that decision get made, particularly if that becomes part of getting the bridge finished?
Actually, the debt financing is for a project specific, which is the pavement rehabilitation. It's not assumed for any other CIP project, only for the pavement rehabilitation, given the level of need and the condition that the roadway and network is at. That's why we wanted to progress quicker. We've changed recommendations, and we developed a plan. We potentially to rehabilitate all roadways over an 8-year period. But it's going to depend on whether funding like that will be secured or not.
Okay, so it's borrowing against future Measure J funds, for example?
And
or-
actually, Measure I was passed. We could potentially have a number of sources if we're able to utilize the vehicle impact fees to pay towards the debt financing. So this is something that is being reviewed, and it will clear up in the next few months. But it's not intended to fund any other project within the capital improvement plan, just for pavement rehabilitation.
Okay, great. So just one last question. in your report, there's, you look at Pinole and I-80 just cuts right through it. And then there's a space that says pedestrians, there's places under, or around I-80 interchanges that pedestrian are technically forbidden use, but yet how do you get from one side of Pinole to the other without somehow getting around the I-80? And how do you reconcile the desire for bikes and pedestrians when you might not even technically be allowed as a pedestrian to cross under the I-80, according to what I read? So I was just trying to get my head around that.
It takes convincing on Caltrans sides. So we have regular coordination meetings with a number of agencies, including PG&E, East Bay Mud, Caltrans. We voice our concerns, but they also have valid concerns in terms of safety and liability.
So it's an issue in progress.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
I just have a few quick questions. When you're looking at your lighting rehabilitation, or overall, I know you're just right now replacing existing infrastructure there, are you looking at part of your pedestrian plan to provide more lighting, like where you have street lighting? What I've often see is like street lighting only illuminates the street and the sidewalks don't have that. Are you looking at consideration of increasing lighting along your pedestrian corridors too?
Yes, and actually, because we currently utilize the county and the state standards, but we're working on a number of design updates on our end. We're in the process of updating the traffic calming program. We're in the process of developing the active transportation plan. We're in the process of also developing our own standards for the downtown area versus the rest of the city. So there is a number of supporting policies and design guidelines in the works. And we applied for a grant for funding complete street design guidelines.
And is that part in the complete streets? Because I haven't seen, I've seen some of the like complete streets building. It just seems like that lighting component as far as pedestrians, and it has been lacking.
Definitely, and the project for street lighting upgrades, that's part of the CIP, but it's dependent on the available funds. It relatively has a small annual budget, like each of the lights would cost about $15,000. Actually, in the assessment district, because of the type of lighting there, it cost about $20,000. But in the installation or upgrades, we perform the photometric analysis. Like in the assessment districts, we're no longer putting the lights in the center median. It's on the side of the roadways, and it's staggered on both sides of the road. And when we installed the new street lights on Appian and Kenyon through the Appian Village project, we required them to do the photometric analysis to see the level of illumination, not just for the travel lanes, but for the sidewalks and the bike lanes that they established. There is analysis behind it, but I also have to be honest with you, it's a long road ahead.
So expensive.
Yes, it is going to be a gradual improvement.
So, and then the last thing on the bridge, going back to the bridge too. So BNSF has no responsibility for maintaining the bridge, even though that is that like a kind of almost a rail to trail, or is that still an active freight rail line?
It is an active.
And they don't have to provide any of the funding to maintain the bridge?
They are part of the review process, but not.
And then, I'm sorry, one final question. I saw that like in your plan that you're trying to get like more connection for, because Pinole and Hercules are almost sort of like transit deserts, especially with 80. But there is like the one connection, that lovely multi-use trail that you have along the bay there, but it stops. Is there any, not on your part, but is there any discussion as part of overall that your input to get like a safe connection all the way, say, into Richmond BART, as an example?
Actually, the Bay Trail and Pinole Creek Trail are very important corridors for bicycle and pedestrians within
user.
Pinole. And thankfully, Matt agreed to give us a letter of support. We're in the process of applying for a grant that's going to be submitted next week for closing the gap in the Bay Trail at the railway crossings. We did receive some grant funding for the improvements there with a continuous connection, bike lanes and a new sidewalk along Railroad Avenue all the way to the bridge. So we have some funding, but with the improvements that the cost of the improvements within the UPR right-of-way, the numbers we received were more than what we expected. So we're seeking additional funds from the program that would allow its commuter rail type improvements for crossings and such.
Okay, thank you very much.
I wanted to ask if Member Esquivel had any questions or comments online.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to say a lot of comments and then maybe 2 questions. So page 45 of the report that was submitted is blurry. Would you mind maybe submitting it in 4 parts? Because it's, even if you magnify it, you can't read the lines. That's a comment of just the report. I did want to say Pinole seems like a great city to raise a family. I wanted to thank you in your report about fixing the pool in Pinole. I love seeing that in the report. I hope that you pay attention to the quality, making sure the water's clear and nice for children to swim in. That's awesome. And I'm surprised they're under $250,000 and they're not reported. But thank you for also mentioning the Tiny Tots improvement. I see that as a value to the community. Also, the fact that the city is funding a senior center, that's great. And those are all just things that I saw in the report, and I love seeing that. It makes it like Pinole is really there for people to live in, and that's really awesome. And then now I just have questions about city policy. There's a lot of improvement on the sewer pump. They need to be improved, but so the question I would see is, like, as you repair the pump, will that allow for more housing or more growth? Or do you just deal with it when you want to grow more? That's just one question. Let me just give you all my questions. And then does the city have a policy in terms of policy making, promote purchasing versus renting homes? And then more comments about the rail commute. Those are big projects, but I think I saw between 1 million and 2 million that's left over in the budget. That, it's good to have money in the bank, but I wondered if there's any plans to actually improve Pinole. And I was thinking maybe like improving the rail commute line so that people from Pinole can commute into San Francisco or Lake Tahoe or the rest of California. That would be nice. So that's it. Those are my comments. Thank you.
I will start by tackling a few of your questions, but I'm going to need David for one of the questions. So with regards to the commuter rail, actually, the city of Hercules is also pursuing a grant funding for a mobility hub. If I may, Glenn is not here, but if I may share that, for a mobility hub that's going to be about 1 mile away from Pinole. We don't have a station in Pinole. Our issue with the rail crossings is to provide a safe crossings for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. But it will be 1 mile away from Pinole, so we could potentially pursue the establishment of a shuttle service or a bike share program, a connection between Hercules Mobility Hub and Pinole. They are still, they completed the environmental review. They are about to commence the design, I believe. With regards to the sewer projects, I did not include the different types of projects in the presentation. I only included the 3 that are receiving Measure J funds. The sewer projects are funded by enterprise fees. It's actually the only types of projects that were okay on funding because the enterprise fees have been accumulating over the years, and we're progressing on the various projects. And we recently established guidelines for the replacements of sewer lateral with contribution from the city, depending on the type of repair or replacement, depending on the depth and length of the lateral. There are maximum amounts that the city could contribute. And this is our way in trying to get the property owners to upgrade their sewer lateral. Because we have a waiting, like a significant list of properties that are not compliant. We just completed a sewer project, replacements of sewer pipes along Orleans and Pinion, and we have a number of projects underway, including upgrades to the treatment plant. The treatment plant in Pinole serves both Pinole and Hercules. We just replaced one of the blower, and we're in the process of ordering the other 2.
And if I can add, most of the, in terms of the policies regarding renting and buying, the city doesn't have any particular policies of, what the rents are, we don't have a rent control program or a purchase control program. And that hasn't been something that the city's pursued. And also, I did want to mention also regarding the sewer is that most of the growth of our city and our laterals are at their maximum capacity, meaning we're not going to have enough growth to start making 8-inch lines turn into 12-inch lines and 12-inch lines turn into 24-inch lines. So mainly it's the maintenance and making sure that our distribution system is prepared just from an age standpoint and aging as pipes are aging out, we're replacing those. And the city did go through a major plant expansion that got completed right as I was getting there, I think in 2018, 2019. And so we have capacity. Our distribution system is kind of older in some parts of the city, so we're replacing, which will allow the city, maybe it could be some efficiency. We gain some flexibility through the efficiency of the new pipes, but we're not looking at expanding. We don't have the land to really do that. So, and we do collect impact fees to also for like those one-time big costs. And also the city is split between the city of Pinole and West Contra Costa County Sewer District. So the whole city doesn't go into our plant, it goes into another portion of the plant, which is a totally separate special district. So hopefully that answers your questions, and unless you have any more, thanks.
Thank you very much.
If I may add, the issue in Pinole is not really the capacity. The issue in Pinole when it comes to the sewer network is the age and the condition of the pipes. That's what we're facing each time we pursue capital projects that would affect the sewer pipes. And we're also working with East Bay Mud on replacing water pipes on a number of corridors. And we're in the process of developing a stormwater master plan. So the various underground utilities are either under review, or we have the assessments ready, and it's a matter of pursuing the capital project.
Okay, looks like Member Esquivel is finished. So thank you for your presentation and for helping us understand everything that's going on and our comments and answering our questions. Just a few more. I live in El Sobrante. I play in Pinole. I shop in Pinole. I'm there all the time. I was there last night. So I'm very familiar with the developments and the intersections. Happy to see the Appian townhomes going up, and I know that there's a new stoplight there. I'm sure you've done quite a bit of study. I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of pedestrian crossing over to Pinole Middle School. So I just was hoping that you might touch on what kind of school access, not only for Pinole Middle, but I'm guessing they would go to Ellerhorst across the highway. So I'm wondering if you could touch on that.
The school access will not be impacted. It was temporarily affected during the construction because at that intersection of Mann Drive and Appian Way, we replaced the whole signals to meet current standards, like the poles, mast arms, pedestrian push buttons. It meets now current standards. It used to be a three-legged intersection, and now because of the added project driveway, it's a four-legged intersections, and all corners have been upgraded. And we took the opportunity to also upgrade the curb ramps and lighting, as I mentioned, and all that. But in terms of access for the schools, it's not being impacted. It actually now provides safer crossings, for example, across both sides of the intersection.
And very close by, there's the Safeway complex. And I know there's been kind of like a drag out of that sale of that property. Can you bring us up to speed on if there's any development coming into that area?
We are hoping. We are continuing to work with the new property owners. The property was sold back in 2024 or 2023. And we had an entitled project at the time, Pinole Square, which was a whole rebuild of the whole shopping center. However, the new property owners allowed that entitlement to lapse. They are working with, the Appian 80 is basically made up of three different areas. The 12.7 acres, which is part of the Safeway and the older buildings. There's also two other parcels that accumulate the whole area to like 13.7 acres for the whole Appian 80 shopping center. The current owner is working with those property owners, and they're working on getting tenants and tenanting the buildings. We haven't seen anything yet. We have been working with them through, making sure the site stays clean. We're really coming after that. You can kind of see the fences that have gone up around the building, which has been due to code enforcement issues and stuff that we've been able to get them to do. However, they haven't come to us yet with the development proposal. So we're waiting patiently to see what they come up with. And when they do, then we will process and go from there. But right now, we're just kind of in the dark with everybody else of what they're doing. So.
And do you have any limitations or requirements for housing on that those parcels?
The parcel itself has what is called an high density overlay district or parcel on the parcel. However, in the past, the past developers of the project we were able to allow it to be fully commercial due to the fact that we had excess land or excess units as prescribed in our housing element in terms of sites for the number of units that we needed in our arena. So the overlay is still over there. We have talked to the property owner about adding residential a component to the shopping center. If it did, it would kind of be similar to there's a project in the city we call it the BCRE project, which is a 29-unit apartment complex right next to an existing shopping center. And we also have the new Panola Vista where the old Kmart was. That's scheduled for a 223 unit apartment complex. So we are looking, and we told the property owner that we would like to see some type of residential component with it. We just not sure where they're going with this property,
Okay.
so.
Got it. And I also wanted to ask a little bit about, so West Contra Costa Schools, right? They don't have a bus program. And I wanted to, I guess, ask a question and maybe also pump CCTA's 511 program about bus transportation, active transportation to schools, SS4A grants. Can you tell us a little bit about, what your activities are there, or possibly trying to help promote busing with West Contra Costa to help reduce traffic on those corridors?
Well, there is a limit to what the city can do. We can only work with the individual schools and the school districts. And we've evaluated a number of schools. For example, you mentioned the middle school. We've evaluated that site and gave recommendations on their drop-off and pickup area and the parking where it should be stationed and all that. But we even offered to implement the improvements, but the city does not have the right to implement the improvements within the school site. We have to have approval. They function under the state architect. For abutting roadway segments and establishment of safe routes to schools, this is what we're working on. And I mentioned the grant application for OTS. One of the components is the establishment of a traffic safety education program that's customized for elementary and middle schools, as well as driving age high schoolers and seniors and the community at large with various initiatives, including one-on-one meetings and workshops and providing safety devices and all that. But all of this will take time. We're in the planning process on a number of initiatives, not just the Department of Public Works. The police department is part of the initiatives covered under the OTS grant. So we're communicating and coordinating and trying to help as much as we can.
And if I can add to that, we're also, when new development comes in, we also require, in terms of these projects, to have TDM measures. So a lot of that is working with transit, and so that we can get probably more cars off the street in some of these apartments, so which would make the roads a little safer. And so we make sure we require those TDM measures, which all of them have to include at least some type of transit, whether it's, ride share, whether it's, oh yeah, subsidizing the rates for the residents. So we kind of forced the new development to go to West Cat and say, what can we do, because the city's requiring a traffic demand management model, and so it kind of helps us do. That's kind of how we do that with them, because we don't have any control over West Cat, we don't have any control of the schools, so we go after the developers to make that happen, and so as much as we can. So that's how we handle that.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, so I also wanted to just say thank you for, the City Council for adopting the Pinole Valley East soccer grounds, because my kid is there all the time. It's a really great use of those public lands. It's highly utilized all the time. And maybe you can also adopt El Sobrante, because Pinole seems very well run, and I would vote for that. And also, I just wanted to mention that I don't believe we do not have a member from Pinole sitting on our board. And if you know of any really excellent people, we would love to welcome them in. So I was reminded that Member Shakirin, are you still online?
Yes, I am. I have one question. Thank you for your presentation. It was absolutely remarkable and comprehensive. Thank you. One question I have is at the beginning of your presentation regarding Pinole Valley Road Rehabilitation Project, you showed a slide that also talked about the orange balloons or bulbs, which is speed humps, I believe. Since Pinole Valley Road is a major arterial, and in my humble knowledge, opinion, we typically do not install speed humps on major arterials due to, emergency response time and things of that nature. Was this something that was approved in consultation with the fire department and others? And how do you go about installing speed humps on a major road?
Actually, there is a little bit of background, and there are two ways of going about the installation of traffic calming devices. Is to design the roadway to force reduced operating speeds, or the traditional way of setting the speed limits. In this case, the city did analysis and reduced the speed limit on Pinole Valley Road in some segments because of the abutting land uses, the schools, the soccer fields, and if I may add, by the way, we will be adding a prefabricated restrooms at the soccer fields within the next few months. Because of the abutting land uses, we were able to reduce the speed limits, and we've already changed the signs. But there are limitations on how far we were able to go in terms of speed reductions. That's why we have to design the roadway differently, because we've received a significant amount of community concerns about these particular locations. And the extent of pedestrian and bicycle crossings at these locations that feed into the parks, the soccer fields, the schools. That's why it was based on the analysis. It's the fact that we reduced the speed limit allowed us to be able to establish traffic calming devices. The roadway configuration at that location has horizontal curvature also that forces people to drive slower. To answer your question about coordination with the police and fire department, yes. The fire department functions under the county, but we're in regular coordination with them, as well as coordination with our PD. Did I answer your questions?
Yes, you did. As a follow-up, so this is just one section of Pinole Valley Road that you managed based on a traffic study to reduce the speed. So are you saying the rest of Pinole Valley Road still would be the higher speed, typical of an arterial?
Some sections of Pinole Valley Road, yes, they still have higher speeds. However, when reducing the speed limit, you're allowed to extend the distance because you cannot force drivers to change their driving speeds frequently or over short distances. So that allowed us to reduce the speed limit on a significant section that we're about to rehab. And also, I believe by narrowing the travel lanes and establishing the bike lanes as part of the reapplication of the pavement marking on Pinole Valley Road, all of that will assist in reducing the travel speed. So we design the roads based on the operating speeds we're trying to achieve, if that makes sense. And in this case, there wasn't a need to implement speed cushions per se, to accommodate like buses and fire trucks. Those speed humps are flat-topped. They are not the parabolic speed humps. And they're
Okay.
specifically to enhance crossings at 3 locations.
Okay, so these are the flat top, like a raised, almost like raised crosswalks, or not the parabolic typical speed humps that you see on residential streets.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Emily, I wanted to recognize that Member Erickson is now present. Do we now have a quorum?
Yes, we do have a quorum now.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you for coming. All right. Okay, so glad you're here. Do we have any written or public comment?
We have no written or virtual public comments.
So do I have a motion to approve 2022-2023 Measure J Growth Management Compliance Checklist for the City of Pinole?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Member Carr, anybody second? Second. Okay, Member Stark. Emily, can you conduct a roll, a vote? There we go.
Member Carr,
Aye.
Member Erickson,
Aye.
Member Esquivel. I think you're muted.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Yes, 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 yes.
Member Miller,
Aye.
Member Saunders,
Aye.
Member Shakarian,
Aye.
Member Stark,
Aye.
Member Vedantam,
Aye.
Vice Chair Esselstego,
Aye.
Chair Lovejoy.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously with members Ash, Bankert, Everidge, James, Patel, and Wayne absent.
Thank you
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right.
Thank you. So the next item on the is an action item that will be introduced by Matt Kelly and presented by Henry Rood.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Once again, Matt Kelly, Director of Planning with the Authority. Our second checklist tonight comes from the city of Walnut Creek, our sixth largest city in population in the county, but probably, doing a bit above their size in terms of business and attracting folks into this part of the county. So I'm just going to turn it over to Henry Rood, Transportation Planner with the city, and let him present the highlights from the city's GMP checklist. Henry?
Good evening, committee members. My name is Henry Rood, Transportation Planner for the City of Walnut Creek. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting some highlights from the 2022-2023 Measure J Growth Management Compliance Checklist. Tonight's topics are mainly going to be focused in 2 areas, the first being notable development projects. And these were projects that were approved during the reporting period, so some of them are under construction now. And then secondly, notable transportation initiatives from that same reporting period. So to begin with, we have 3 notable development projects, the first being a 254-unit senior housing and residential care facility. This also includes off-site improvements that may be substituted for an in lieu public benefit of $1 million. It's called Oakmont of Shadelands. And this project did reach the threshold for a traffic study and VMT report, which were both conducted and routed as normal. The second is F&M Bank. This had a major redesign. It's under construction right now on Main Street, kind of close to Walnut Creek BART. This is within the BART proximate bubble, and you can see that they're going for a new kind of modernist design. It's very different from the old. Last, but far from least, is the Shadelands Secure Space / Calicraft. This is a large mixed-use facility, 165,000 square feet, including self-storage, office, the Calicraft Brewery, and gardens. This is a big expansion to their existing kind of indoor-outdoor brewery area that was already very successful. They're in the final stages right now, and it also includes frontage improvements. Next, to discuss some of the transportation initiatives. To comply with AB 2097, this was a state law that prevents jurisdictions under most circumstances from imposing any parking minimum requirements for development within a half mile of major transit. So for Walnut Creek, we had two impacted areas, the bubble you can see on the map there around Walnut Creek BART, and then, well, Contra Costa Center, Pleasant Hill BART is not in Walnut Creek. We are on the border, so there are some parts of the north edge of our city that are also affected by this. But to supplement this state-induced law, we also conducted a parking study for multifamily units around the city at 18 sites to readjust our citywide parking minimums. So these were lowered significantly. Now for 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom units, it's 1.25 spaces per unit, whereas previously it was like 2.5. So we were massively overparked. Most of these sites had about a quarter of the spaces were empty, and also the amount of parking spaces they had built was less than the then current requirements. So it was in dire need of a correction. And this helps bring housing costs down. The minimum parking requirement is essentially also putting a floor on the housing production costs for these multifamily facilities. So, allowing developers to set the parking where they actually expect to need it instead of at an arbitrary minimum helps reduce the parking and housing construction costs. Additionally, we also decoupled our bicycle parking from the automobile parking. Previously, it was simply 10% of the car parking that's required was also required for bicycle parking. So now we have an entirely new set of requirements based on best practices, which I'm sure I will get questions about later. And these are basically broad land use categories, things like retail, office, school, which dictate also a ratio for short-term versus long-term. So for example, office requires much more kind of secure long-term. It's like 75-25. Compared to retail is obviously much more focused on short-term. So that's 75-25 the other way, much more focused on short-term kind of bike racks than long-term facilities. And this also means that bicycle parking and automobile parking requirements can be now adjusted independently of each other. Whereas previously, if you adjusted one, it would pull the other with them, which often doesn't make sense. And indeed, there's sometimes an inverse correlation for best practices there if you're trying to induce mode shift. Next, the Neighborhood Streets program has continued to be successful. We started doing this around the pandemic era, and we've continued to develop it. The latest in the Neighborhood Streets program is that we've replaced the Pace Car Pledge with a more developed Safe Travelers program. This includes a periodic newsletter with traffic safety news. We've got a little comic for the kids, and it involves a pledge to drive safely, to respect the rules of the road, to report misconduct that you see to help keep the neighborhood safe. We also offer free yard signs that we will deliver to residents so that they can put them out. And we have all these kinds of measures that we can build up and kind of interface with the community. But eventually, if these early treatments are not sufficient to solve traffic safety issues, we will hold workshops and town halls to develop a specific neighborhood traffic calming plan. So recently we have done this with the Citrus Woodlands neighborhood and the Larkey Park neighborhood. So they now have complete neighborhood specific traffic calming plans with specific implementations for the short term and into the longer term as funding becomes available. Next, the local roadway safety plan. So over the course of 2022 and 2023, we prepared this local roadway safety plan, or LRSP. This was approved by City Council on August 1st, 2023. The idea is to provide Walnut Creek with an opportunity to address unique roadway safety concerns while contributing to the success of statewide traffic transportation safety goals and the California Strategic Highway Safety Plan. So this helps incorporate safety improvements into all capital projects, including regular maintenance like slurry seal and the treatments for neighborhood streets as discussed previously. Additionally, we have some specific improvements that were called for in this plan that have already been implemented. Near the Kaiser Permanente on Main Street, we implemented a new pedestrian scramble on Main and Lilac and also a new mid-block crossing. And there are several more that are planned for the longer term. This safe system approach helps shift how the community approaches transportation and mobility, seeking Vision Zero, which is zero traffic safety deaths or life-altering injuries. In addition to the local roadway safety plan, we also underwent a Safe Routes to School initiative. So staff conducted walking audits at 13 different Walnut Creek schools, coordinating with school staff and volunteers to identify safety issues, inefficiencies, specifically around pickup and drop-off when, at a school this is most intense. So we helped work with these staff to create a specific plan for each of these schools to help improve safety and accessibility, in addition to mobility. We also created these walking shed maps you can see up in the top right. So the pale color is like trails, sidewalks, like essentially good, safe facilities that kids can reliably use. And then beyond that, the kind of penumbra in the darker purple is for biking. So that obviously covers a wider area than walking alone. Next, our Route 4 and 5 County Connection. They're called trolleys colloquially, but they are just all electric buses. These routes are free. They're an enormous success. They've seen continued high ridership, and recently we implemented a new technology called Transit Signal Priority, or TSP. This allows buses to get better lights. They can essentially request a green light a little earlier, or if there's an existing green that they're approaching, they can request to extend it. And this helps improves headways. It helps make the bus schedules more reliable in general. So we've installed TSP at 31 intersections in Walnut Creek for these free trolley bus routes. I will also mention, because it can sometimes get confusing, there is a different technology that is emergency vehicle prevention. So if you think like ambulances, fire trucks, and that is a much higher priority bracket than just for transit. So the emergency vehicles can actually preempt the lights instead of just putting in these requests to help kind of fudge the window in their favor. So it's pretty different in practice, even if it's a similar idea. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions, so please just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Let me just ask the committee members one by one if they have questions or comments, rather than going around the room. Member Saunders.
Just real quick on the free buses or the trolleys. So how are they being used? Are they like running from BART to downtown, or what's making them, so successful? What's the behind it?
That is exactly it. Yes, they run straight into BART. They go across Ignacio Valley Road, which is obviously not great to traverse as a pedestrian or cyclist. We're working on that too, but that's a longer term, more expensive kind of project. We actually, just in March, County Connection is going to be rerouting it so that it's more efficient. So it's kind of a full loop around downtown up to BART. Right now, it does like a very serpentine zigzag, so it hits like everywhere downtown, but in practice, it means it's a lot less efficient, and you don't get as much service as you could do with a more, looping route.
Does it kind of help with sort of any first and last mile stuff because it gets close to a neighborhood, or not really? It's really a downtown thing.
It's mostly a downtown thing, but we do have a lot of apartments downtown. So if you have people, say, going into the city or into Oakland or what have you, just taking BART at all, really, it helps connect that. And I personally lived in Walnut Creek for the past 4 years, and I took that bus to BART all of the time. It was incredibly helpful, bridging that 25-minute walk or, Harrier bike ride. It's great for last mile if you live in town, which a lot of people do.
Yeah. And what are the hours like, roughly?
I'm not sure exactly, but if I recall correctly, it covers morning commute hours and runs until about, I want to say 8 or 9.
Okay, all right, that's good. Thank you.
Member Esselstego.
Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple questions. Regarding the Transit Village Garage, I wanted to understand kind of how you're gauging its, success rate or not success rate. Like, for instance, is it encouraging, park and ride usage? Is it encouraging downtown park and spillover? and maybe even potential induced vehicle trips.
I'm sorry, would you mind clarifying what you mean by the Transit Village Garage?
Yeah, so it was in the report. One of the projects was a transit village garage, and so with that, I'm just curious to see how you are all determining its either success rate or coming up to its success rate.
I see, yes. So the idea with these transit villages is to help, improve the area around transit, make it more accessible for living, for accessing retail, for all manner of things. So the garage helps people transition. Walnut Creek, we got a lot of people driving into downtown, and so we see success there if it can help induce mode shift by connecting those different means of transportation.
Okay, so I guess the question more was like, can you quantify it? Like, is it like, do you have like an actual number, like maybe 10%, like less driving?
We do not have numbers for that currently.
I was asking because I was trying to figure out how that plays into the whole, the whole system. But okay, that's fine. I guess the other question kind of relates to parking, like for instance, downtown parking, the supply of it. Does it currently impact your climate action plan? For instance, if it's not as successful and people are still driving into Walnut Creek, let's say because there's parking around, like how is that impacting your climate action plan?
So the Climate Action Plan is obviously calling for measures that help induce mode shift. This was after the reporting period. This was just last year, but I can tell you that we recently, council passed a curb management plan for downtown, which is all about parking and loading and other access by those means. So while there wasn't a fair increase, we are trying to help utilize our existing supply better to motivate people to access downtown and access Walnut Creek via other means to help meet our climate action goals.
Okay. My last question is, I was looking at the affordable housing numbers, and I guess I'm trying to figure out how to better ask it. I guess how is Measure J planning being coordinated with your RHNA obligations to ensure that the two frameworks support each other? I'm asking this because I see that, for instance, the very low income units are pretty low, like it's way off versus what's required.
So our long range and housing planning is coordinating with us, especially for the transit oriented communities and that kind of BART proximate penumbra. We're working together to make sure that the housing and transportation goals are integrated so that we can help stay compliant with our certified housing element. And depending on how things go next month, also meet the new MTC transit-oriented communities requirements so that we stay eligible for that funding and ensure that our housing is in line.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask anybody online, Member Shakiran or Member Esquivel, if they have any questions or comments.
Excellent presentation. No comments or questions, just excellent presentation. Nice to have a city with BART service that's really well run. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Erickson.
I do have a couple of questions about, I realize it's 22, 23, and there's been the changes. Can you discuss just a little bit about like any of your complete streets things? I'm a regular bicyclist to Walnut Creek, and it is like, as you know, it's really unsafe to get to BART. The pavement, so I know that you guys have recently undergone a lot of repaving in Walnut Creek, but it didn't seem like you included the sidewalks in that. Like Monument, along Monument there, it's like the sidewalk's really unsafe to walk. And so I'm just curious if you're going forward, that if you're looking at increasing the bike safety and pedestrian safety.
So yes, we definitely are. As you understand, we have to prioritize based on the funding that's available. So I can tell you for BART specifically, we're working with the county and with BART on the mobility hub improvements specifically for that crossing at Ignacio Valley Road for Walnut Creek BART and the trail. We're also in the final stages of getting funding for new bikeways on Oakland Boulevard and sidewalks too. So that should help connect things massively with that kind of south end of the city by the bridge. It'll have a straight funnel directly to BART.
And then I guess the last one is like the Contra Costa Canal Trail, the Broadway crossing there. Is there any, I mean, I know like Treat Boulevard, for example, they got the bridge in. Is there any kind of discussion, because that is such a used regional trail, as far as increasing lighting, or, you know, having, like, how you have in front, how you have like the pedestrian-only lighting by the theater? You know, like, are you considering having a traffic-only? Does that
So-
make sense?
I think so. So let me know if this answers your question or not. But the trails themselves are not operated or managed by the city. They're East Bay Regional Parks. So we focus mainly on making the crossing safer. at
Right, that's
places
what
where
I'm
they
talking
get-
about. I'm
yes.
talking about the Broadway crossing.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, how, like, if I'm trying to connect across, I'm on Contra Costa Canal Trail, and I try to get over Broadway in particular, you know, I have to kind of make two crossings, and you've got traffic turning right into you. But like down further in front of the theater, for example, you guys put in a pedestrian-only light, like the signals, where just pedestrians get to go all at once. I'm curious if you're looking at doing that similar kind of lighting for that path that is Walnut Creek, because it does go across Broadway.
The theater downtown?
Well, right, there's one, I'm not sure of the roads, but there's like one of the places where, like, it's a 5-light kind of situation, and one of them is just for pedestrians.
Okay, I'm not familiar with
Okay.
that, to be completely honest. I wonder if it might be just outside city limits. Is that
No,
po-
no, it
Okay.
is downtown.
Where does Canal Trail intersect with Broadway? That's all I'm trying to figure
It would
Yeah.
pass like it's like right at Broadway Plaza. It's like at Newell and, I'm sorry, it's not
Oh.
Broadway. Newell.
Okay, I've got some very-
Newell, sorry.
Newell, okay, thank you. Sorry, that took a minute to coordinate. Okay, yes, so I have some great news for you. This was after the reporting period, but we are, I think we're at like 65% plans now, or maybe it's a little earlier, but we have funding. We're doing a huge improvement along that stretch of Newell from Broadway to California, including the trail crossing. So we're directly focused, yeah, because that diagonal, it's awkward. No one likes doing it.
Exactly. Or like put in a diagonal or
Yes.
whatever, yeah.
And also this May, you will find us there at Bike to Work Day, running an Energizer station with some more info about that Newell Avenue Improvements Project. So come by if you'd like.
Okay, sorry, wrong. Broadway, Newell, you know, that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize.
Member Van Dantham, please, go ahead.
Well, thank you for the presentation. I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I want to congratulate in what city has done on the safe routes to schools. It's a very good initiative, I think. I think most of the cities has to do it. Kudos to all the staff members. You mentioned they did walk through the routes and talk to the teachers and everything. So just wanted to say big thanks to that. That's all I got.
Thank you.
And Member Saunders, did you have any other further comments? Okay. It is very quick. Great presentation. Walnut Creek has a lot going on, really great transportation planning and implementation. With that, Emily, is there anyone wishing to speak during public comment? Or am I jumping ahead here?
No, we have no
No
public
public
comments written or
comments.
virtual.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Measure J Growth Management Compliance Checklist for Walnut Creek?
I move so.
That's Member Miller making the motion, and do I have a second? Member Vedantam making a second. Emily, could you please conduct roll call? Vote?
Member Carr,
Aye.
Member Erickson,
Aye.
Member Esquivel,
Yes.
Member Miller,
Aye.
Member Saunders,
Aye.
Member Shakarian,
Aye.
Member Stark,
Aye.
Member Vedantam,
Aye.
Vice Chair Esselstego,
Aye.
Chair Lovejoy.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously with members Ash, Bankert, Everidge, James, Patel, and Wayne absent.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. And with that, I think we'll jump back to the consent calendar to get a vote on that.
So I got a question for Matt from from Walnut Creek. I noticed that they had a senior lift rides program that used CCTA funds. Is that unique to Walnut Creek, or are there other jurisdictions in the county that use CCTA funds for senior lift rides? Because that caught my attention.
Lyft specifically, that may be unique to Walnut Creek. There are other cities that do use Measure J funds for their senior transportation. Yeah. But I'm not aware of Lyft being used in other places as part of that.
Okay. We'll go ahead and jump back to the consent calendar.
Sorry, you wanted to say something on the point?
Yeah, did you? Yes, go ahead.
It's quite all right. Yeah, so as you know, the Measure J Line 20A is for this senior transportation. There was recently a call for projects, so we're trying to maintain the program. We use Lyft to catch specific routes, destination, origin that do not really conform to the existing minibus program, just to help expand the network, catch people who otherwise couldn't really use it. The Lyft reimbursement is not the full ride. I believe it's $10 per ride. So it's more on parity with the other 20A senior ride programs than it might sound. We're not just covering people's lifts willy-nilly.
Well, that's good to know, and actually, I'm aware of some jurisdictions that have come to the conclusion that totally moving from a mass transit model to Lyft is actually cost-effective. So I find that intriguing and illuminating, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so for the consent calendar, Citizens Advisory Committee Summary of Actions from December 10th, 2025, and the attendance log. Are there any changes or comments from the committee? Is there anyone wishing to speak on an item of the agenda at this point, Emily?
We have no virtual or written public comments.
Okay. I will go ahead and make a motion to vote on the consent calendar and to approve it. Do I have a second?
I will second. Member Miller.
Member Miller. Emily, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Member Carr,
Aye.
Member Erickson,
Aye.
Member Esquivel,
Yes.
Member Miller,
Aye.
Member Saunders,
Aye.
Member Shakarian,
Aye.
Member Stark,
Aye.
Member Vedantam,
Aye.
Vice Chair Esselstego,
Aye.
Chair Lovejoy.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously with members Ash, Banker, Everidge, James, Patel, and Wayne absent.
Okay. So at this point, do we have any committee members or staff who would have anything they would like to share? And we're quiet. Okay. And Emily, still no public comments or speaker cards?
Correct, no public comments.
Okay. The next item is correspondence and communications, which we have none. If there are any topics that members would like to agendize for a future agenda, please raise your hand. Member Saunders.
So, in the 2 and a bit years that I've been on this group, there have only been 2 pieces of public comment. One was somebody griping about something that they're certainly entitled to, but I'm not sure it required a response. The other one was the woman who was here a couple of months ago. I'm not sure that I want an answer to her particular question, because sometimes people don't like the answers that they get, but I'm interested in the process of, if we're a citizens advisory board and we have a citizen that says something, what happens with that? What do we do? I know we can't talk about it. That was a learning experience, at least I had, but I am interested in what happens with that. She had some frustrations that I think it would be nice to know that CCTA spent a little time to get her through that. I don't know that it can solve a problem, and I'm interested in the process. So I'd be interested in just, an overview of that and what we can and what we typically do, just for my edification. So, thank you.
I'll speak to a couple of things there. First, we did follow up with her. The project manager on the 680 project did follow up with her, and we also gave her some contacts at Caltrans. But we are also working on a presentation for this group on sound walls that was requested at the time. The presentation we're working on isn't going to focus on that particular situation, but more on, in general, how sound walls are planned, funded, and how they become part of a project. So that was going to, but we'll touch on, why or why not a sound wall is selected for a particular location, such as near her residence. But then, so what you're requesting today is more of a staff presentation on how we address public.
Yeah, I mean,
comments?
I'm just interested in the process of how it works. Obviously, there are rules that I may or may not be aware of, so how do we work within whatever rules and laws there are, but also do our best to make sure that a citizen who's taken the time to come in, voice an opinion, that is addressed. And, I mean, it may be that you go back to them and you go, you can't have what you want. That just isn't going to happen, but then at least they can be unhappy about it, or maybe in her case, it's getting your neighbors together so it's not one person talking about it, but the whole city. I mean, there must be ways that we can help them, and I don't know that we go out of our way to spend hours and hours, but they took an hour or two of their time that I think, she obviously was nervous. That's great. So what do we do? And so it's more process than answering her question, because I don't think that's our job to answer a question and give an answer. So that's all. And it doesn't need to be long, but I'm glad to hear that you talked to her. That's great. And just understanding what you typically do is what I'm interested in.
Yeah,
Great.
Really good point, Member Saunders. I think that would be educational for all of us.
And I guess, Matt, if there was something brought to us that we felt was a broader issue, while it's not our purview to respond to a comment, we can choose to agendize a discussion about said issue if we felt it was broader and appropriate for a committee such as ours to tackle it, yeah?
You can certainly request that it be brought to this committee, and then beyond that, you can request, as you've done in the past with, say, the railroad letter, that the authority address it,
Right.
agendize it and address it, yeah.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Maybe just one. I was trying to wrap my head around quorum. And so we're 8 in the room, 2 remote with the addresses in the agenda, and they did vote. So do not Member Shakir and Member Esquivel actually count towards quorum if they're officially noted in the agenda with their address? Or is this some of the new stuff that's coming out with the Brown Act amendments? And maybe that's an agenda item at some point, the changes to the Brown Act and how that might impact us. So just let me leave that and see if somebody wants to take an answer.
Yeah, they count towards quorum if you're in the county. So if you're on Zoom and in the county, then that counts for quorum. And then everybody obviously here at the dais as well.
So we actually did have quorum. We're glad Member Erickson was here, but we actually did have quorum, because I think both of them are in the county at the moment.
Member Esquivel is agendized in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I didn't. But with, so we had to have 9 because 16 divided by 2 is 8 plus 1.
Yep, half plus 1, yep. That's a Brown Act. Yep.
Great question. Thank you, and I missed dinner.
But no matter where they are allowed to still vote. They just don't count for the quorum if they're out of the county. And regarding your comments about changes to the Brown Act, we thought that might come up tonight. We are actively following those changes to the Brown Act and monitoring them and checking with our legal counsel on what it means for us, because it does affect advisory committees. So we'll keep you guys posted on where that goes.
I'm sure you kibitz a bit with other groups, but the CAC for County Connections working through the same thing, and there's some, seems from their understanding, there's some peculiarities, like the group can be completely remote, but it's not, their take was that you couldn't have like half remote, half in person, that the whole group could be remote. They weren't sure whether you could like have some remote meetings, some in person. So yeah, I think there's a lot of soul searching on just how those details will play out.
Yeah. And either way, Emily will be sitting here alone if need be to run the meeting in case the public shows up. But we don't know if that's the direction we will go, but yeah. I'll hang out with her.
Well, my feedback to County Connection was others can speak for themselves, I think the quality of our group amped up when we got back in person, that there is something to be said for the in-person interaction versus 100% Zoom. So that was my 2 cents to them, because they're trying to figure out how to move forward.
Sure. Yeah, any updates to the Brown Act would be great, Matt. Any other questions, comments for the committee or the staff? Okay, so our next regular meeting is proposed for February 25th, 2026, and this meeting is adjourned at 8:02 p.m.